The next question is that what are the different types of the counters, right? So there are two types of the counters. One is called as the asynchronous counter or non-synchronous or ripple counter. Second one is the synchronous counter or parallel counter. Now how difference will become from the asynchronous counter to synchronous counter means based on how we are using the clock pulse value. Suppose for example if I take the 2 flip flop, let it be this is a flip flop 1, this is the flip flop 2. So here we are using the negative edge clock pulse or positive edge clock pulse. Now see that for the first flip flop we have the clock pulse, for second flip flop also we have the clock pulse, right? So what do you mean by asynchronous counter means if the first flip flop, this is the first flip flop, this is the second flip flop. If the first flip flop clock pulse is applied from the external source, it means that the main clock pulse is applied for the first flip flop and the previous flip flop, it may be second flip flop or third flip flop, whatever it may be, the output. So this is the output of the first flip flop, right? The output of the first flip flop is connected to the next flip flop clock pulse. Then these kind of circuits are called as the asynchronous counters. Suppose for example if you have the one more flip flop, right? So for this clock pulse the output of the second flip flop is given to the third flip flop clock pulse. It means that the first flip flop will be triggered by the or changes by the main clock pulse or external clock pulse. Then rest of the flip flops, nothing but flip flop 2, flip flop 3 will be changes based on the output of the previous flip flop. This output of the previous flip flop will be given to the clock pulse previous flip flop, right? So this is what we called as the asynchronous counter or ripple counter. Now what do you mean by synchronous counter means, suppose for example I have the 2 flip flop, right, or it may be you can consider the 3 flip flop. Each flip flop will be operated by the clock pulse, right? Now what do you mean by synchronous counter means or parallel operation means if the common clock pulse, right? So clock pulse for the each flip flop will be applied commonly. It means that if you are applying the single clock pulse for the all flip flop, then it is called as the synchronous counter or parallel counter. Now what do you mean by asynchronous counter? First flip flop external clock pulse, remaining all flip flop clock pulse are nothing but the output of the previous flip flop is called as the asynchronous. If the common clock pulse is applied to the all the flip flop, then it is called as the synchronous counter.